We're inviting you to check out our new online store at covenantanimalclinicil.com or just click on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Whether it's damage from a fire or Illinois storms, ServPro of Piatt DeWitt counties will make it like it never even happened. Find out how they can help you by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It is brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Jay Pratte is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, my guest on the Zoom call today. And Jay, always good to see you, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. A little worn out from all these travels to the Great White North in my home country. But, I'm glad to be back and doing pretty well.
Well, good to see you again as always. And tell us about some of those travels because they had some significant ramifications for the zoo. What you been up to?
So for the first time in several years, but definitely since I got here, I actually went home to see my family. I was actually, I'm Canadian. I was born and raised in a little town, Fort Macleod, south of Calgary, Alberta, where the AZA National Conference was. So I went up a little bit early and drove all over the Rocky Mountains and whatever else, visiting various and sundry family. And then went to Calgary for the AZA conference, where we also had our AZA accreditation hearing with the commission. And I am very excited to say that we were successful.
Hey, there you go.
All of the hard work, the support of the city, all the park and rec leadership, the society, the Ewing Foundation, everything led us to really turning things around in the last 2 years and getting our AZA accreditation and maintaining that. So we're very excited about that. That means we're one of about 250 zoos around that in North America and now around the world. AZA is spreading a lot of zoos around the world. South Korea, Colombia are starting to join and sign up for this program. So it just says that we're doing a great job. We're the second smallest AZA accredited zoo, but it lets people know that we are really working hard to maintain those world-class standards. So I was very excited about that. And then spent another week in beautiful Calgary near Banff and enjoying the conference. 2,300 people attended that AZA conference. So it was a lot.
Sure. And now, this is your first time through with AZA accreditation at the Miller Park Zoo, correct?
Well, yes and no, it is. But you'll remember last year we had an inspection and we received provisional accreditation, which they gave us one more year to fix a number of problems. So while it's my first round making sure we stayed accredited, I've actually gone over through 2 rounds in 2 years.
Okay, that's right. And I just remember you kind of back when we first started chatting with you as you took over the role of director of the zoo, is that this was quite an undertaking because you kind of walked into the cabinet was bare in a way. How about that?
That is a very good way of looking at it. They actually did let us know because of the amount of work that I had put into it. And when I first got here, both in the application and in those first few months before our actual first inspection and hearing, I did a lot. We identified a lot of issues. We dealt with things. And remember, AZA is not just the animals. It's the whole facility. It's paperwork. It's leadership, management, finances. And so they saw I was on the right track, but they're like, we think you can do this. And they gave us provisional when the other option was just taking our accreditation away completely. And this past year, we knocked it out. We only have part of one concern left, which is some things we're working on at Katofor Animal Building. It's upgrading some animal holding areas. We're working with engineers and architects right now on how we can improve that for the animals and the staff. But AZA was very happy with the results, encouraged us to keep going the way we are. And we're they were full of good thoughts and praise for all the work we've done as a city and as a zoo.
One thing I've heard about the AZA process, Jay, is that it can be very intimidating. You've got this boardroom full of people, you don't know them, but they know everything about you, obviously, because they've got it right there in front of their computers. Just speak to kind of approaching that and what that was like from your perspective.
So I've done over the years, I've worked in AZA zoos, and I've gone through a lot of inspections. So I'm familiar with the process. I'm familiar with the guidelines, although the guidelines do change every year. They update them based on current science, feedback from members. So we have to stay on top of that. But the whole process is a lot. I mean, even the application form, it ends up, I mean, it's hundreds of pages when you're done of data and information that they're going to review. They're going to go over everything else that's been submitted about your zoo. You get an inspection team of your peers that come in and they peek into every aspect of what you do, like animal areas, holding, but then your finances, your management, they talk to your staff. I mean, they're going to lift up every rock and peer in every corner and turn on every light and find every skeleton you have. So that's a little daunting in and of itself. They give you a report at the end of the things that they feel need to be addressed. And then you've got some time to work on that. So you send in a letter and then you go for your hearing. And it is a room full. It's the entire commission. It's all the heads of AZA, any observers and other trainers, the entire accreditation commission team. So there's usually 20 to 25 people in that room that are all senior leaders within this organization that you get to sit there, a little table by yourself, and answer their questions and let them know what you've done. And so you have to go in feeling confident in what you've done, understanding the standards and like how you feel you've met them. And like I did this year with a couple, anticipating questions, thinking, okay, with all these things done, they're going to ask some things. What might they ask? And so I had a whole stack of extra materials I had taken just as well. So in case, anticipating different questions, I had things to show them, like what our other plans are and where we're going. So it really is a lot. Last year I was very nervous, probably a little defensive in that because of some of the things that, had come up. And this year I knew how much work we had done. I was very proud of it on our team. And I went in, I had a smile. It was a completely different attitude. And it was very easy for me because I'd seen most of these people before. We'd had a really great experience with this last inspection team, and it changed the whole experience. But you have to have confidence. You have to know what you're doing, and you really have to be aware of the standards and how they might interpret them.
What was the biggest thing you had to address when it came to the AZA and their review? What was kind of priority number one for them?
So 100%. The first team came in looking for, and they knew about the Coteau for Animal building, our historic building that we reopened, the upstairs viewing. It had historically been used in the basement, just old areas with really old, I'll use the word historic kind of enclosures and caging for animals to go in over the winter. There's no light, it's poor ventilation. I mean, it's a basement. It's an old basement. And they really had concerns about that moving forward. And so we made it a priority in this past year to we just gutted everything so that there could not even be a doubt that we would ever put animals in there or not again. There's absolutely no place down there. We removed every piece of caging, everything that could have possibly been construed as that, so that AZ understood we were committed to not using that space that they felt did not represent modern zoological institutions. And instead, we've been upgrading other holding places around the zoo to then put those animals instead.
Sure. Do you feel like now that you've got this out of the way, you've probably got paperwork where you want it, you've got projects that are moving in the right direction, things are kind of going your way now with this process? Do you feel like the next time it comes around, it won't be as stressful? I mean, it'll still be stressful, but it won't be like you're trying to cram 4 years of work into 1.5 or something like that. Does that make sense?
Well, and that's exactly what it was, Seth, because, when I started, it was about 2 years ago almost. It was October 3rd was my first day here after a week of remote. And the first job I had to do was fix a bunch of USDA stuff and paperwork and then dive into AZA. And that huge application was due in February. So I had 4 months to fill out the full application for a facility I'd never worked with, people I'd never worked with, and I was solely responsible for it. Next time going in, I've got 4 years to work on it. I'm going to know when it's due. I can work with it. I'll have a team that will be helping me. I'll know my protocols, so I won't be rewriting them all. So it will set us up in a better place. And one of the things AZA reminded us is that, just because you got here, don't let things taper off. Keep going the way you're going. Their exact words where we heard it a lot was, keep your foot on the gas, because they really want us to continue to improve, to meet and exceed those standards. And so that's what we'll do. But it will set me up in a much better place, and us, the next time that rolls around.
What does keeping your foot on the gas look like at the Miller Park Zoo there, Jay?
So right now, we just actually had a meeting this morning with the project manager. We're building some extra winter enclosures for our wallabies and our wallaroos. We're improving the housing, the holding mews for our raptors, our hawks, and our owl. We are working on improving the barns where our guanaco and our pigs overwinter. And then now that we're back and we focused on AZA, we're going to be looking at how we can implement the new master plan project. Because both Miller Park for within the city has a master plan project this year, and Miller Park Zoo has one that's been proposed, and the budget was already approved for us to go through that process. So we're slowing down maybe a little, or at least a little bit intensity, but we've still got so many projects on the horizon. We're just going to keep on going.
Well, and that's I feel like that's a different type of, intensity. Like it's an excited intensity. Like you look forward to that. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things to do that I, like I have such a short time to do it. It's like now you can dream, you can vision, you can plan. Correct. and it's in a like looking forward instead of like, we're coming up 100 miles an hour on a boulder that's 50 feet in front of us, right? So yeah.
No, and I feel that in the last 2 years, I feel like I've crammed 30 years worth of my career into 2 years. I really and truly do, but I feel that we've got a very good foundation now, and with the accreditation, the solid foundation that I've been building both for the zoo itself, the culture of the staff, the relationships within the city and the society. We're really going to be able to like stand on that and, like you said, move forward. Now we can do the stuff that, while a lot of work, it's like, what's the vision for the zoo going to be? What are our next projects? What can we do now that we've taken care of what we have to do?
Yeah,
it's great that you actually you see that, because that's something I'm really hoping to inspire our team with. You put all this hard work in. Now let's really think about what we would like to do and where we would like this to go in the future.
Now for you, we got to find you some vacation time, my friend, because like you said, I don't. Have you even taken a day off? I mean, my goodness, we got to find you some time to get away and rest.
Sort of did. I was with my family outside of Banff, like in Fairmont Hot Springs and that, but the laptop was there and there was a lot to do because we just recently, brought on another manager, and my phone goes off nonstop. So yeah, my hope is one of these days I can just shut everything down, go to Bora Bora for 10 days and, not have to worry about the rest of the world.
I know that feeling. Jay, where do folks go to learn about all things Miller Park Zoo?
As always, you can go to our social media pages and Instagram for Miller Park Zoo, or the Society's website and social media pages as well. We also have a page on the city website.
Let's take a break here, Jay. Come back with some more. Jay Pratte is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, my guest on the Zoom call today. More to come with Jay on the morning show.
WHOW.
I'm Len Casper, the voice of the White Sox Radio Network. McLean County, tune into the Sox right here on 106.5 FM, WHOW.
Brought to you by Warner Hospital and Health Services, Baum Chevrolet Buick, Love It Once More Thrift Store, and Midstate Eye, all in Clinton.
Hi, Ryan.
We're here for the wedding.
The wedding was a month ago. You were supposed to be my best man.
Told you he'd be upset. Sorry. See, we were headed to the church when we heard a radio spot for a furniture store.
We really needed new end tables.
And while we were paying for those end tables...
Tell him what happened.
Here's what happened. Jen heard a radio commercial for a 3-day spa package at a big fancy hotel.
Oh, Ryan, it was so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we're lounging by the pool.
Tell him what happened.
Here's what happened. I'm listening to a podcast on my phone.
When he hears an ad about a direct flight...
to a resort in the Galapagos Islands.
What?
Again, Ryan? So beautiful.
So beautiful. Anyway, we're just getting ready to fly home, and what do we hear?
Let me guess. A radio commercial.
For a car dealership.
Tell him what we did.
Here's what we did. We bought a car and decided to drive home.
You can't drive home from the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, did we feel foolish when we found that out?
I really thought it would float.
Radio goes where we go. A message from the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station. They brought you this message.
Scott Baum here from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. Search our big selection of pre-owned cars and trucks by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Dr. Bradley Grant here from Midstate Eye in Clinton. If your little one is entering kindergarten or new to your school district, make an eye exam appointment now so you'll be ready for school. Find out more by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. Jay Pratte is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, our guest on the Zoom today. And Jay, I know you mentioned you got back from Canada in the whirlwind of AZA, and you jumped right into Zoodoo. What is Zoodoo, and how did it go?
So Zoodoo is one of Miller Park Zoological Society's annual fundraisers for the zoo that they raise for various projects in the Project of Greatest Need. We do the Stampede, we do Brews at the Zoo, which was awesome this year, and then we had another sold-out event, which was Zoodoo. And this year it was Ignite the Night. It was an amazing event planned by the Zoo Society team that started off in the zoo, going through with drinks and engagement. Ended up actually out on the lawn in front of the pavilion. We had fire dancers and drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and then it moved actually into the pavilion for the dinner and the auction and the events. And it was sold out. It was a really great event. Everybody had so much fun. We couldn't have asked for better weather, and we're very happy with it. It was very successful. I don't know how the actual net results went. The society hasn't let us know, but it seemed to be very successful. People were very engaged. And it's probably feedback so far as it's the most fun Zoodoo event we've actually ever had. It was Hawaiian luau themed, so yeah, it was a really good time.
Nice. Now we hear you reference the Zoological Society. Tell us about them. What do they do, and what's their role with the zoo?
So the Miller Park Zoological Society is a separate. It's a nonprofit entity that their mission and their primary objective is to support Miller Park Zoo. Both financially through events, helping identify, projects. For example, when we did receive a significant list of concerns and the provisional accreditation, they stepped up with $100,000 gift to the zoo to help us specifically with those projects that we hadn't budgeted for that annual cycle. They host the events that everybody, again, the ones I just mentioned that everybody's familiar with, and they also run our membership services program. So when folks come and they join, they are joining the zoo, but they're technically joining the Zoological Society. So we work very, very closely with them. They actually have an office just down the hall where the two staff members are there almost every day. We have a wonderful working relationship with that group. And I mean, we couldn't do a lot of the things we do without them. They support new habitats. They help us with, some of the animal acquisitions and the events, and really a lot of the stuff you see out in the community that's not directly zoo education outreach is actually the society hard at work.
Nice. Well said, Jay. Anything else on the Zoological Society? What else do they do through the course of the year in terms of fundraising? What are some of the other efforts that they put on?
So I alluded, every year in spring, we have the Stampede. That's the race that goes through the zoo and around the park. That one's been very, very popular. Our annual Brews at the Zoo, which again, we had increased the number of tickets, and then that one sold out again earlier. But they're also always there helping us with just general fundraising. So if folks are reaching out and they want to donate to the zoo, they want to donate to the carousel, they want to help with something, those types of gifts would generally then go through the society, and they would manage those and help decide or help us allocate those resources back into the zoo. They're also our community partners. They actually call it, it's not just fundraising, they actually use the term friend raising, because when they're out in the community and they're hosting these events, they did an ice cream social at one of the parks for, the Chamber of Commerce, where they're getting people interested in the zoo and in our projects. Because what you find is once, people's kids have grown up, they forget about the zoo and they don't think about the adult activities and, what we have to offer for that. So it's reminding people that we're still here, all the things that we do, and getting them involved, whether it's our board, our advisory board for the society, or just coming out and visiting, supporting, and being here to have a good time.
Very good. Jay, anything else going on at the zoo? I know you had an open position and you made an internal hire, which is pretty cool. How about this story?
It was. So we did have, we had a vacancy come up. It was for one of my supporting manager positions. I have an education manager, I have a guest services manager, and of course we have an animal care manager. And it was the animal care position that had actually opened up. And we did post nationally. We had 3 external candidates and then 1 good, strong internal candidate. And it was actually the internal candidate that was successful. And her name is Rose. She's actually a great story because Rose actually started off here. Her family's from this area. She grew up loving Miller Park. She was in all the education programs. She left a couple of times to go and try and get more experience at different zoos in the area, but always kept coming back here. was here as one of our union full-time zookeepers. And then she threw her hat in the ring for this one, and she just did such a great job of demonstrating that not only was she a good zookeeper, but she knew the zoo, she knew the community, and she could be a good leader. And so yesterday was her first day in the role, office next door to mine. We're all learning and figuring out how this is going to go, but we're very excited about what this means for the zoo in the future.
Now, are those positions hard to find? I mean, we know about the kind of difficulty in hiring employees in other sectors of society. Is this a difficult? Are zoo workers just in general hard to find? Jay, speak to that a bit if you don't mind.
So it's interesting because you will end up with, like, I've advertised for seasonal zookeeper positions, and I'm actually literally about to post for the new full-time union zookeeper position. You get a lot of applicants, a lot, but a lot of them are not qualified, or they just think, oh my God, it'd be fun to work at the zoo, not thinking about, like, these are highly skilled positions working with exotic species. Mm-hmm. And so we are really looking for people. We have hired interns before that have kind of an idea. But when you get into leadership and management, people that get into zookeeping and taking care of animals will often say, I did for years, I'm an animal person, not a people person. And so we really have to work within AZA and within zoos at developing leadership and people skills so that these people, folks can have the confidence in stepping up. And right now, AZA is having some struggles at a lot of zoos in finding those curator, general curator kind of level positions, that mid-range management that do both animals and people. Because you've got a huge pyramid. Like, you've got directors up here where there's only 250 something zoos, you only got that many directors, but there are so many animal care workers and staff and just zoo staff that you really have a big wide pyramid. So there's not that many opportunities always to move up. Right, and so other people don't look for it, they're not sure about the training. We got really lucky with this one. We had some great applicants. She was the successful one, so I'm glad the process worked out for us like it did.
Well, Jay, I hate to do this to you. I got to let you go. Best way to learn about all things Miller Park Zoo.
You can find our webpage on the city page. We also have social media, Instagram and Facebook, and Miller Park Zoological Society has both as well.
That is Jay Pratte. He is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, our guest on the phone here this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.